What is up, you chess brainiacs? Welcome back to another video on the Force Drive YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be giving you a full-fledged breakdown and tutorial of the Caro-Kann Defense. The Caro-Kann Defense is my favorite opening in all of chess, and if you follow me for a while, you already know this, and if you're in my Discord server, you also probably know that. By the way, link in bio for the Discord invite. And it is the best opening in all of chess, and it is not close. I swear by this. To the day I die, the Caro-Kann is the best opening in all of chess. Hands down, without a doubt. Best opening, it's not close. I have played the Caro-Kann since 2020, and I used to be 900 ELO, and I went from 900 ELO to 1900 ELO, playing the Caro-Kann every single time as much as I possibly could. I played this opening probably at least like 4,000 times, and Shadow Gotham Chess for putting me on it. But today I'm going to be showing you how to play it. I highly recommend you learn this opening against, I'm going to show you in a second, against the move that you can only play it against. And with that being said, guys, let's get right into the game, or the tutorial. So, the only time that you can play the Caro-Kann is when your opponent plays e4. You can't play it against e4. It will be a different opening. You can't play it against this. You can't play it against this. You can't play it against this. You cannot play it against any other opening. The only opening you can play the Caro-Kann Defense against is e4, and I want you to ingrain that in your brain. That is the only time you can play the Caro-Kann. If your opponent does play e4, the Caro-Kann starts with c6. And a lot of times your opponent will push this pawn here. After your opponent does do that, you always play this move. And right here, you have your very basic structured Caro-Kann defense. And I have a couple notes here for you, specifically off of d4. So let's say your opponent takes this pawn. Anytime your opponent takes the pawn, you will always take back with the pawn. Never take with the queen, because if you take with the queen, you're going to lose a little bit of tempo, because the knight's going to come out, and now your queen's going to have to go back either here or here. Anytime, like if that ever did happen to me and I was trying to play a little goofy, I usually slide my queen back because I'm scared. But always take with the pawn, right? And after this, you literally just play basic chess. You can move your bishop here. Your opponent probably develop. Now you push this pawn, and by the way, it is a very good idea to not push this pawn first because you're going to block your bishop's way into the position. Push the pawn here now, and if the bishop ever comes into check, you can literally just block with the knight. If the bishop takes, you take back with the pawn. And if your opponent castles or something like this, you kick the bishop out. If the bishop goes back here, I usually always, it's not recommended here, but I usually always play the bishop back here, or play the pawn forward here on the b file. Bishop slides back, and then I just play basic chess here, and the list goes on and on and on, right? But in the opening, that is how you do that. Now, if your opponent ever pushes this pawn forward, ever, and I mean ever, you have one move here and one move only, and this is the only move you can play in this spot. This is the Caro-Kann Advanced variation. You always move your bishop here to f5. And usually, 9 times out of 10, your opponent's going to move their bishop here. Anytime they move their bishop there, you will always take the bishop here. Every single time, without question. Queen's going to take back. You push here now. Give your bishop a lifeline. Create some space for your bishop to get out. If your opponent goes here, you're not even worried about that. You just push the pawn forward. And you just play basic chess. Or actually, probably go there. Probably move the knight first there. And then usually they'll play something like this. Here. Probably go here, here. And you just eventually try and castle, right? However, sometimes your opponents will play this move, which is h4. And this is a very tricky move. And it's actually a very tricky trap that your opponent can lay out for you if you play into the advanced variation and your opponent plays here. The idea is that if you play here, they're going to push this pawn forward, and the queen's going to be covering this pawn. Slide the bishop forward. This pawn's also going to push. And you can't go here. You can't take. The queen's still covering. You can't go here because the pawn's going to take, and you can't go here. Actually, you can't go there. That's the wrong move. You go here. This pawn pushes, and you're cooked. You're going to lose a bishop. You are literally going to lose a bishop, and it's not even close. You are literally going to lose a bishop here. The only move to stop this is to play h6. Because after the pawn pushes, your bishop now has a lifeline. Your bishop is saved. And you just continue to play like normal. Perhaps a move like here. Actually, wait, they'd probably play something like this. You go here. Give your bishop a way to get out. Bishop slides here. And you just play normal chess. So that is a very common trap there. Now, let's say your opponent doesn't take the pawn, doesn't push here. Let's say this pawn doesn't do anything. Let's say they move the knight here. Oops. Anytime your opponent does not take the pawn, you always take the pawn. Every single time. Because your opponent's going to take the knight back. My computer is fritzing. After a move like this, I'm usually bringing my bishop out first. And now the knight will usually fall back to g3. Slide the bishop back. You're doing A-okay. This would probably get something like knight f3, push the pawn, give your bishop a scope. Same thing, same principles apply. If the bishop comes down here to attack, I usually just block with the bishop. Takes, takes. And now you can castle, and you're looking very golden. But the principle remains the same. If this pawn doesn't move, let's say they go queen here. Or, yeah, let's say they go queen there. You take. Oops, takes. My computer is glitching right now. You always take that pawn. Even if the bishop goes here, take. Now, let's look at something else. Let's say they play here. Same principle applies. Takes, takes, and you maintain your very, very basic structure, and you stay consistent throughout. That's the basic gist. Like, you're literally just trying to keep these pawns alive and in the center. By the way, the queen's covering that pawn. While also being able to get your pieces out and create threats. Now, if you are a sole beginner, you will have to encounter instances where you get into unfamiliar territory, but the principles will always remain the same. Every single time. And I also want to give one call out to this as well here. After e4, here. So they go here, here. Knight comes out. And let's say you take this pawn. Knight takes. And let's say you do play something like here. And let's say they play here. Actually, wait. I don't think that's the right move. Wait. Actually, wait, I take it back. It's knight here first. Push. It's here. Takes. Yeah. Alright, well, there's a very tricky gambit called the alien gambit. For whatever reason, it's not coming to me right now. And after here, push. Right here, take, take. Let's say you do something like this. Ah, here we go, the tall variation. And now if your opponent goes, okay, that's not the tall variation. If the knight ever goes here, you can go here. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. The knight ever takes, you take back. And you just play normal once again. All the files are opened up, yes. But you just play basic chess. Here, castles, and you're doing just fine. You're doing just fine. I don't know why I blanked so hard on that, by the way. I've only played this opening like a million billion times. Yeah, okay, so here, yeah. If they ever take, you always take back with this pawn. Don't take with this pawn. Very important. However, there's a very tricky gambit your opponent can play, which is here. And this is called the alien gambit. And apparently this guy named Witty Alien made this, and I have never heard of this guy in my entire life, but apparently I live under a rock, and a lot of people have. But essentially the alien gambit is where, let's say the bishop, let's say you push the pawn here. Which is one of the top engine moves. The knight's just going to sack. And this is very tricky. And also, if you want a more detailed breakdown on this, I have an alien gambit counter video on my channel. If you want to go ahead and click on that and view that. But essentially, your king is out in the open, your bishop is blocked, and eventually your opponent is going to go here. If your opponent ever goes there first, you will go bishop e6 here. If takes, takes. And essentially your goal is to try and keep your cane as safe as possible. Now, if you're a beginner, you probably won't see that too much, but just a note there for you. That's called the Alien Gambit there. So if you want more details on that, like I said, go check out my Alien Gambit video. But one last thing to wrap this up, because I wanted this to be about a 10 to 12 minute video. Anytime your opponent plays e4, you can't play against d4, c4, b4, a4, f4, here. You can't play against any of those. You can only play against e4. This will usually be your normal setup. If the pawn number pushes here, bishop goes here. And if here, you always take this bishop. If your opponent goes here, you push this pawn up. And you just play basic chess. Oops. And you just play basic chess. And then if your opponent ever takes, you always take the pawn back. And if your opponent plays a knight here, you always take this pawn. And the principle remains the same, always. Thank you all so much for watching if you made it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and tell me what your ELO is. Tell me if you play the Caro-Kann. Tell me if you've never even heard of the Caro-Kann. I would love to know. Tell me if this tutorial was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments as well. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Like I said in the video, I've played the Caro-Kann for a number of years, and I'd be more than happy to help you and anyone else out improve their Caro-Kann game. And also be sure to subscribe. I post chess content every single day, and I think you'll find it very, very interesting. And also, join the Discord server. Links in the description down below. We have chess tournaments, daily checkmates, chess dojo, and a bunch of other awesome stuff I think you'll really enjoy. All you gotta do is click that link in the description. And also, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to check out this video. This video is really fun to make, and I think you'll find it very, very interesting and very, very helpful. And for the last time, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace.